Okay, hey everyone. It's your boy Arys Dejan checking in. I'm hanging here with Isaac today. Um, yeah, I'm all around creative. I'm the host, creator, and producer of the Who and How Club, which is a podcast, blog, and movement and event series. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, and I'm just really happy to be here today to sit down with Isaac and the El Paso creatives to just talk about all things creative and to, yeah, just touch base. We're in two different worlds, you and I, right? So it'll
Exactly,
be
man.
to bridge both
Yeah,
worlds, right? Have a deep conversation.
and I love it because like it's interesting to kind of see like, the different types of, I guess, industries we work in and like the different types of like views that we have towards it. So just to give a quick introduction, hey guys, my name is Dejan Hernandez. I'm today's host for the Past Creators podcast show. And just to start off, Arys, why don't you just tell everybody who's kind of listening, viewing this, just a little bit background on yourself, who you are, what is that you do, and why you got into it.
Sure. Um, like I mentioned, my name is Arys Dejan. I don't that's my first and my middle name. So I use that as my sort of like my moniker, my creative moniker. I never really believed in like making up some sort of name that's not your own. Like I feel like we should always use whatever we were given. We didn't get to choose our names. So why would we create like another layer and create like another fake name to go by? So I just use my name as, Arys Dejan. So that's my first and my middle name. I know a lot of people define themselves based on what they do. I'm not really that type of individual. I think we're more than just what we do. So I just like to define myself as like a person who just loves to create. I love love. I love life. I love being here. I'm really grateful, for the little things, just being able to sit over Zoom with an individual as yourself to just talk shop, and um, like when I was younger, like I remember watching TV and just seeing like Michael Jackson and Usher and those types of creatives and getting inspired by them from such a young age when it came to dancing and choreography. So those kinds of things, kind of stuck with me throughout my childhood and my teenage years, and it kind of propelled me to pursue to get to the level that I'm at today, pursuing, my dreams, I guess, and creativity.
Yeah. And then one thing I kind of want to touch back onto what you kind of mentioned is the whole branding of your name aspect and things, but then also how it touches into technology. So I first want to like there's two different questions in there. I kind of want to touch
Sure.
into like the whole why I guess why don't you kind of believe like that you should like probably put like another name in yourself to kind of brand yourself and things like that?
Because like persona, there are many. You could look at the definition of persona, and it could go in many ways, right? Like there's the persona of yourself, but then there could be a persona that you create, and it's like that there's a layer that you're now creating, and it's like a character. You could easily become a caricature of your own self if you create this whole other thing that you're going by. It's not even your name. You're like who really made this mistake? Is it like, let's
Right.
say my nickname or my artist name is John, or is it Arys Dejan that's going to take the responsibility, right? So I feel like when you create like these, I don't know. I like the feeling of ownership. Like my name is my name. You ever watch The Wire? You ever watch
Yeah.
that series, The Wire? Do you
Yeah.
remember Marlo? Remember Marlo? He says, "My name is my name."
Yeah. Exactly. There you go.
In the end, it was like I think the last couple episodes, he said, "My name is my name." So you got to own it, Don't
Yeah.
create another layer between you and your audience,
Mhm.
let them know who you are, or a
And
piece
and
of who you are.
And how do you see that whole technology? So, like for example, right now it's that they use the perfect example. We're in Zoom. You're in all the way in Canada. I'm all the way in El Paso, and we're still able to connect.
Yeah.
How important do you think is
Yeah.
technology in order to kind of boost yourself up as an artist, and get your presence known out there? A lot of people don't really use social media for like their social media in general, technology in general, to like get their artistic
Yeah.
stuff out there. How do you important do you think it
Yeah.
is?
Or they might use it for the wrong reasons, right? I think it's important because it's a tool, just like money is a tool, it could be used if you use it right. I think that you could use it to your benefit to reach people. Like you said, look at where you are right now and look at where I am, and we're able to, people are going to listen to this and learn something from it and be inspired by it. And if it wasn't for technology, we probably wouldn't have this opportunity, right? So there are ups and downs, pros and cons to all of it, but it's about how you use it, like with great, the Spider-Man movie, like with great power comes great responsibility. So I think we have power in our hands when we have this device. It's all
Absolutely.
about how we use it and what we choose to show and present to the world or even digest,
Mm.
So yeah.
And go ahead and just like switch back a little bit, touch a little bit
Do you
about.
agree? Do you agree though? Do you agree?
I
Like
do
what are your
agree. Like
thoughts on
this phone had the same power that Ronald Reagan had to run the White House at one point, So like there's really no
yeah.
endless opportunity when it comes to like not being able or using that excuse of like I can't do anything, like I'm not worth of this much. Like you really have a phone.
Yeah.
Like I can literally text probably you in Canada and then you can reply and then this is how we're on here. Like you never know who you can
Yeah.
connect with or text with things like that. So like there's no real excuse
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
like I can't do this much or I don't reach an audience because there's
Yes.
and it's all free. Instagram, Facebook, social media,
Yes.
it's all free to
Yes.
use, you know.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. So let's touch back a little bit. Let's touch back on your career. How did you get started? How did you know that you wanted to do what you wanted to do?
Hmm. How did I know? That's a really good question.
Like when did it all kind of start for you?
It I feel like, when you're young, there's just like something in your gut that is like boiling. It's like a volcano that's ready to erupt, but you don't know how to identify it. You don't know what it is. It could be passion, I don't know. It's like when you look back at your life, you see all the things that you were quote unquote into growing
Absolutely.
up. And then you look at your life where you're at now, and it's like, I'm doing the things that I was once into when I was younger, whether it was like dancing and teaching dance class to like younger students or performing at the talent shows at school or, just my knowledge of music and hip hop and R&B and just my
Right.
love for music, like it always starts with your love for something, and then I think it evolves into like you start to discover your own talents in connection to that love, and then you start to pursue it. So during my teens, it was like, wow, I'm actually able to pursue this. Like people know me as a dancer now. People know me as a rapper. People know me as a poet because I performed here. I'm expressing myself through different channels. So but you never thought ever in your life that you would get the opportunity to be pursuing these things, So
Absolutely. Yeah.
it was like during my teens and then sort of went up from there. So yeah.
And what kind of came first, like in your passion love? Was it music? Was it branding? Was it?
It was dance really.
Hmm.
Dance has always played a major role in my life. It's sort of like the foundations. And my mother was a model, and also my uncle, her brother, was a break dancer. So I felt like just knowing that and seeing that growing up, it trickled over here, because there aren't really many creatives in my family. It was really just my mom, my uncle, and then me. Everyone else is kind of doing their own kind of thing, but it's not really in the artistic realm. So
And then did you
um,
have that support system of like, obviously maybe it was your mom and your uncle as well, but a lot of creatives and a lot of artists, when they first start into the art industry, they don't have that support system. A lot of people think it's a joke, it's a hobby, a bunch of negative stuff like that. Did you have that
yeah,
or was it?
I had the support, yeah, because I guess my mom really she set a foundation for me when it came to like believing in yourself. She really taught me that growing up. Like, if you don't believe in yourself, no one will, but who cares if anyone does anyway? As long as you believe in yourself, that's what really matters. So I
Right.
carried that with me throughout my life, and but sometimes like you just said, like those negative things, like when someone says, oh, like they refer to something that you love so much as just your passion. It's like, no, this isn't something I'm passionate about. This is who I am. This is an extension of me, my music, my podcasting, what I'm pursuing. It's not a passion. It's not, So I like that you kind of acknowledge that just now, because a lot of people will accept that when a person refers to something that means so much to you as just a passion or a hobby or a
Yeah.
hobby. I'm this blood, sweat, and tears, like it's not a hobby.
And I always go back to it's like, how do you think that the photographer for the president is there right now? How do you think there's photographers for like sports and NFL teams, things like that? It's like, it's not just a hobby. If they're over there making that as a living, you could. But I think it all just goes back to like kind of what we just said in the very beginning of like, none of that can be possible without this, without your phone, without that,
Did
like you
you,
really won't get as far.
did you get that kind of support as well growing up, or like what was the energy that you kind of received
Kind of
growing
now,
up?
now, yes. When I first
Yeah,
started, like 2017 or 16, around there, I started
yeah.
photography first. I didn't get any of that. I told my parents right away. I told them, everybody, and they were like, no, it's just a hobby, like go get a real job, like a teacher, nurse, police officer, those things like that.
And the
Uh,
standard, the standard.
Kind of standard, like just regular jobs, get through life type of thing.
Right.
I started growing a little bit more. I did podcasting, I did a branding and things like that. It got known a bunch of different places, and now so they're just like on there like, oh, I believe in you now type of thing. And so yeah, that's why I kind of always like to ask that question on like, the perspective of different artists and how they went through that. Like when they first came out as like, I'm gonna be an artist full time type of thing, where I want to do music, photography, filmmaking, those type of things full time, because it's just a very negative shit. But I always tell everybody, I'm like, without any art at all, your life would be pretty boring. Anybody's life would be boring. You walk down the street and there's art everywhere. You do something and it's art. You open up your phone, you have a wallpaper on there. Things like that.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Well, I really like I love that you're saying this, because it's like everything is art. Everything is art. We are art. We're walking
exactly, we're
pieces of
exactly,
art.
yeah.
Yeah. We
Not
were
one single
created.
DNA is the same.
We were created. Someone created us. So who are we to not create?
Absolutely, and I agree with that. And so I guess the more important question I kind of wanted to ask now is, what is your definition of success? How do you view the word success? What is success to you?
Thank you for asking, Isaac. I think it's changed over time, but right now, in this moment that I'm in, this moment of life, this stage of life, success to me looks like, just having the freedom to be oneself. It's not about, big cars, big money, and all of this stuff for me. It's more like just having the freedom to be myself. That's a success. Being able to wake up and just like roll over and smile and be like, okay, I'm gonna create something today. I'm gonna use these hands, I'm gonna use my voice and try to put some positivity out in the world. And it's not for people, it's just for me, and
Absolutely.
that's
Yeah.
success to me, because I get the chance to do that. I hope someone hears what I'm saying or sees what I'm putting out and gets inspired by it. But even if they don't, it's not what we're not always like doing it for a reason. Like,
Right.
I think a lot of people get caught up with doing things for a reason, like expecting a result. You can't always expect a result. You just gotta do and be and create and be in your element. If you build it, they will come, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I always just think about it. I'm like, if you're doing it and you're happy at doing it, that's all that
Yeah.
really matters. You don't got to be getting paid $400,000 or, things like that. Like, if it makes you happy, that's what really matters more in life. Like I said in the beginning, money is a tool that's going to help you get there. You don't have to worry about the money. You don't have to worry about like having the most expensive stuff. And a lot of people do think that. A lot of people are like, when they first start off, they need to have the most expensive camera, the most expensive audio mixer, things like that, and in reality, you really don't. And I've seen people, like, I seen this movie, I forgot what it was. It was like in Africa where they went to like junkyards and landfills, and they got like things out of there and they made their own instruments and they started
Yeah.
performing in different places. And I mean, they made it pretty big. I'm like, it doesn't take much, to make.
You got to work with what you got. You got to work with what
Exactly.
you got. Let me show you
So,
something.
go ahead.
I want to show you something. I want to show your audience something. So when I first started podcasting, right? This was my mixtape. This big thing. This thing here.
Yeah.
When I first started, which was like 2 years ago. And now look what I use. This small ass thing. I went from this big thing lugging this around.
Yeah.
Now I'm on this small thing that's like compact and I get to walk around. It could fit in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Like, you just got to work with what you have in that moment. And eventually things will either, you're going to adjust and get the things that you really need. And
Right.
money's a part of that. Money's going to come regardless.
Yeah.
But money was created. So at your core, if you're a creator, you're an artist, you were given those talents at your core. It's nothing external, it's internal.
Right.
So if you're doing what you're meant to do and expecting money from it, there's a disconnect there, because
Exactly.
money is something that someone created, but
Exactly.
you are a creator.
Mm-hmm.
You
And
get
and
what
I
I'm
think just to add on to that a little bit more, like just going back to that whole money part of it, you also got to be very knowledgeable with what you use it with. A lot of people tend to be backwards. They have the money, but
Yes.
they spend it on a lot of dumb stuff and then worry
Yeah.
later on that like, oh, how come I didn't make it as an artist and that, And
Yes.
well, they don't even need to waste all that money either. They could buy like simple, if it's a painter, simple paintbrushes, simple paint, type of thing. Even
Yeah.
with, so I interviewed like last week, there's one guy, he writes like big famous children books. And so
Yes.
he literally told me like the way he started was with a ball pen, the ink pen. And that's how he made all his books. And he still does that till today. And he writes for big publishers, things like that. He draws for them. And he still uses the same exact pen you could get at Dollar Tree, And so it just doesn't take much as like what you need to get, but you gotta be smart about the money that you use to go again and get the things that you need.
To help you move forward and what you're, yeah, like I'll never throw out the big mixer, because I look at it every day as a reminder of how far I've come so far, how far I've come thus far, like with my podcasting journey and with the Who and How Club and stuff. So I keep it here. I won't sell it. I won't throw it out. It's a reminder of how far not only I've come, but also the technology and stuff like that. And it's only been 2 years, right? So you need to keep those sentimental things from, so that you don't forget how you started.
Definitely, it's a memorabilia. It's how you started. And so just going back now to how you started, was there any like kind of like mistakes, struggles, things like that that you went through that you overcame, and that maybe things that you learned from, as far as like maybe even podcaster to podcaster type of thing,
Oh,
you're kind of glad
definitely.
that they happened to you because you learned something very good out of it.
Damn, yeah. Uh, yeah, I think I don't even want to call them mistakes, because in retrospect, there was a time where I was calling these things mistakes, but just speaking with you now, I'm reminiscing and I'm like, that was all meant to be. So was it really a mistake? Like, who am I to say? In the moment you're frustrated, but when you look back, it's like that had to happen in order to get to this point.
And man, you're never
So
you're never gonna get like a pitch perfect ride, like
never. It
never.
shouldn't be perfect. It shouldn't be.
Nope.
Um, so yeah, there were some, things I had to learn, and I immersed myself into the podcasting community before I got started, so that I could learn a lot of the ins and outs before I start. That's the type of person I am. But I always thought that I needed like a co-host, and that didn't work out. I thought I needed someone else on this journey with me, and a couple people came around, and it just caused havoc. And it's like, I think I'm okay. I just need me. I'll be enough. And
Yeah.
sometimes you have to go through the tough stuff to realize that you're enough.
Right.
Sometimes you don't believe in yourself, or you feel you need that something else to kind of counterbalance everything. But
Right.
in the end, I didn't need anyone else. Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, because for me it's kind of the other way around a little bit. Like I do have a co-host, but now I'm thinking of even getting
Yes.
a third one too. Because what I like to do is, the
Wow.
podcast is very like creative. I like to like
Yes.
when the podcasts are here locally, like not like through Zoom and things like that. I like to get an
Yeah.
artist interviewing another artist. So if it's a music person we're interviewing, I want to get like a specific person that I have that's gonna
Yeah.
also be a musician to interview a musician. I have a painter, a filmmaker girl who like she does it all, and she's the one who interviews
Yeah.
like filmmakers and painters. And like for me, it's kind of weird because it's the other way around. Like I kind of would prefer it, to like,
I'd love, but I gotta find someone who can match that energy.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
it's always
Yeah,
trying to
yeah,
find it's hard to find that good
yeah.
fit.
Because you don't want somebody boring
But
that's gonna be like, "What's your favorite color?" That type of thing.
what's your favorite color? Exactly. So maybe time, at some point, the goal is to hand over the Who and How Club. I want to take a step back and hand it down, pass it down to someone who's worthy enough to hold the crown.
Yeah. So so
So
so what
that's
is the Who and How Club? And is that the podcast, right?
so it's the podcast is a component, but it's also an event series. And um I hold these bi-weekly events, which is like an in-person version of the podcast, where I bring strangers together to have like really in-depth conversations. I teach them creative writing exercises, poetry, and they perform, and we eat and we drink and we just kind of break bread together. And it's like a community, it's a movement pretty much. So I want the podcast, or just the Who and How Club, to be bigger than just a podcast, and that's always been the goal. So if I were to give any kind of, like tidbits to your audience, is just like, think bigger, think outside of the box. You
I
don't
like
want to just be a podcast, or you don't want to just be one thing. You got to be able to walk and chew gum, so
right. Mm-hmm.
so think outside the box with your platforms.
Don't limit yourself type of thing. Yep, exactly.
Don't limit. There
Mm-hmm.
you go. There you go.
And man, dude, everything just goes back to what we kind of just always talked about in the beginning. It's just like, now
Yeah.
that you have this, where's the limit? Where's the limit? You could literally message
Yeah.
the president and you don't know if he'll reply. That's the thing. Like, you could message Beyonce and you don't know if Beyonce's gonna reply. Like, it's crazy, bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, like, releasing music and I'm tagging these blogs, I have the ability to do that. Like, that's a positive thing,
Yeah.
So
Now
it's
you go
about how
back into like the days where like that wasn't a thing. Like, I've interviewed people like, I don't know if you know Maria Brito. She's a writer for like Vogue magazines and like entrepreneurship, Forbes and all that. She was very early on Forbes. And so she started to be a writer and a publisher for Forbes magazine, which was Forbes.com. And like the .com was barely coming in. And she was telling me she didn't have that, like she didn't have social media. And she was brand new. She came from Venezuela to New York, brand new, like not knowing English. And so I'm like, it was tough back then, compared to like now, where you can literally sit on your bed and get a job on your bed, like just
we
sending.
can all work from home pretty much.
Pretty much. Like, I just hate it when people say like there's like, they just come up with excuses of like, maybe it's not the time. And so another thing is like too, that I want to kind of ask you is, what do you think about that whole perfect time thing? Like, is there a perfect, like, they're like, I'm waiting for the perfect time, those things like that, like, how do you view that?
I do know that when it's someone's time, it's your time, and like, you can never tell when it's going to be, but when it is your moment, you got to kind of seize it. But I don't think any of us could really, we don't know when that perfect time is, only the universe does. Like, so what you got to do is just keep working, because that whole saying, we could go over these sayings, right? Like, hard work pays off in the end, or whatever, or nice guys finish last, all these sayings. Like, I do believe that the heart, like, just keep working, keep your mind occupied, and you'll see the results, the fruits of your labor, so, and then your time is going to come.
Absolutely. And then was there a time throughout like your brand and who you are and your image and your individual, like as itself, was there a time where you hit a moment that was a very tough moment to keep going, maybe like something that you had to sacrifice in order to keep going, but you're kind of glad that you took that sacrifice?
I'm in a moment right now where I might have to sacrifice. I feel like every day is like, there's something that, do you believe, what are your beliefs? Can I ask you that? Like, do you believe in a higher,
like, what do you mean? Like a God and all that?
I'm not, I don't want to be, I don't know what you refer to it as. I think I don't want to be religious. I'm not a religious guy, but I do have my own beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in anything? Like,
yeah, I do. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you call it God?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is it God? Okay. So God, I feel, has a really funny sense of humor. And I think God looks down on us when we're going through these things. Like just when you think everything is going so smooth, a monkey wrench gets thrown in, and it's like another challenge that you gotta go through to refine your skills, whether it's your communication skills, your understanding skills, your feeling skills, your communicate, like, you're never done. You're never done.
Nothing yet. Mm-hmm.
And the universe and God, like, they're looking at you and they're proud of you. You're using all your tools and all your gifts, but they're looking down and like, you're not done yet.
Yeah, like
you still got
at you. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so how do you see all that then? Like, how do you see those obstacles always coming?
I'm dealing with them better now in my life, Isaac. I'll be honest with you. Like, I think nowadays, I understand like how important taking some time to yourself is, to kind of reflect on a situation before you react to it. You know
Mhm.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And just having a better sense of self-awareness in every situation that you're in, so that you know what role you play in that, because you could play a role in something going kind of bad, or that challenge or whatever like that. So you also need time to assess your role and other people's roles, or whatever that challenge is presenting itself as. And you got to be willing to just like face anything that comes your way, because you want it so bad. You want the success, quote unquote, or what you're pursuing
Right.
to become your reality so badly,
Right.
that you're willing to go through any challenge and cut anyone off or sacrifice anything,
Right. Which is why
just
I asked that question of like, what is the success to you? Like, what does it mean?
yeah.
Because for a lot of people, it is those bigger dreams that, it's that 1% type of thing, right? It's like that 1%,
Yes.
it's that
Yeah.
1%. And so they want to be there, but also do a reality check in yourself and, know what it's going to take. And then if you're not willing to put in that work, then obviously you're not going to get there type of thing. But,
Well, the challenges come with it. You can't expect
right.
everything to be perfect. Like,
Exactly.
if you're not strong enough to go through the challenges, or to accept the fact that challenges will come, then you probably shouldn't even be pursuing what you're pursuing
Right.
anyway,
Hmm.
because you got to be willing to go through it all, you know? I wanted to ask you, like, what does success look like to you? Like, how do you define that?
The way I define success is if you're waking up kind of every day happy, excited that you're going to be doing so and so the next day, or if you're going to be doing so and so, even at the moment, like right now, like, it's exciting to do this podcast. If
Yes.
in the moment that feels right and that's what really makes you happy and excited to do it, and you can do it out of your own free will and not really give a crap about anything else, that to me is success in itself. You don't got to
Yes.
be rich and famous and things like that. You just got to be doing what you love, because you don't know if you're going to die tomorrow, next week or so,
Yeah.
and you
Or
don't
in
want
the
to
next
die trying
hour
to.
from now.
Exactly, like you could die an hour from now, and like, did you really do what you wanted to do, type of thing.
Yeah.
So that's what it is
Yeah.
for me. It's like, just make sure that you're in that moment, excited and happy, and just even there's things that are pending, like you can't wait to get to them type of thing. That's
Yeah.
what. Mhm.
That's very deep. That's very deep. Yeah.
Yeah, and I kind of like how you mentioned the mindset part as well. Like a lot of people, like self-awareness, things like that. How important do you think it is to, especially as an artist? A lot of artists, we portray our creativeness within our emotions. Like we portray our emotions in our art, things like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it gets bad. How important it is to also take care of your mental health,
Yeah.
especially as an artist.
Yes. Yes. I agree with you. Thank God for emotions, because if it wasn't for emotions, I probably wouldn't be able to create, you know? I think we create the best when we're kind of in our feels, you know, or sad or angry or whatever. Some of the best work comes out through that, you know? So I think you got to be able to allow yourself to feel, so that you can also create through that, you know? And
And,
the moment you start to feel those types of emotions, that's when you should pick up the pen or go record something, or,
mm,
you know, yeah.
and I recently told this to one of these artists. It was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. They were going through
Yes.
a tough time. They were like overstressing themselves out. They were putting too much on themselves. And I always tell everybody the same thing. It's okay to just fall down and stay there for a while. You don't got to get back up and pretend like the world is moving like really fast. You don't work on anybody's timeline. You work on your own. It's the same thing as like
Yeah.
nobody's telling you to go get married at this age, graduate at this age. Like that's society's point of view, yes, but it's not their life to control your life. It's not theirs to control you. So I always tell them, like, if
Very,
you fall down, and like things are going kind of not bad, but things are overwhelming and you're overstressed, it's okay to pause. A lot of people forget to pause and just stop and be like, let me take care of myself, type of thing. And so,
mm,
you could stay down there for like maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks or so, but as long as you get back healthier, that's what matters. And then we've seen it, a lot of like famous artists, celebrities, things like that, they die because of those type of things. Like they literally die. And so that's
very true. Very
it's
true.
very important to even talk about like the mental health part of an artist, and especially when you're creating things like that. Like even your message, what message do you try to portray with all your stuff, like your music and your podcast and your brand and everything?
Just be yourself, you know? Don't be afraid to be yourself. Like, I love being me. I'm happy that I am me. And that's where that's when I'm able to dig the like in the the deepest of depths, you know. It's like I'm just with myself. I'm my competition. No one else is. I could care less, you know, like
Exactly. I love that.
you gotta do your own thing and just embrace. I like what you said about the time thing, you know, like are you gonna follow other people's timeline, or you know their structures that they created for you to kind of follow, which isn't realistic? You know, you should be married at 20 whatever the hell age, you should have this amount of kids, you should have a house.
Yeah.
Like, not everyone's story is that. You have your own
Exactly.
story and journey, and we should embrace that more, you know.
Hmm.
Be okay with your journey and accepting of it, so that you know when things do hit the fan, you're a bit more accepting of it and understand, and your level of understanding of it is a bit deeper, because you're like, okay, this is a part of my journey, this is
Absolutely.
going to make me a better person or a version of myself, you know. So yeah.
Now I also see like the different view of like the social media side. So there is a good side of social media, obviously, like, you know, you could promote yourself, you could like, you know, brand yourself, like that. But there's also that bad side, like how you just kind of mentioned just right now. It's like you see those other people and you kind of want to be like them type of thing. And so, but it's not you, you know, everybody has their own set timeline type of thing. And so a lot of people they see, for example, the Kardashians, you know, and they're like, I want to be just like Kim Kardashian, blah, blah, blah. And you know, so they try to get themselves there. And it's a very toxic trait. It's a very it goes back to the mental health thing. It's a very thing that like it hurts you in the end, you know, trying to be that person that you're not. So I really like that you're all about that too, about being genuine and being like yourself and true to yourself, because it goes both ways. The social media side and technology is a very dangerous side, but it's also a good side. But it gets to a point where like you're just following people because you want to be like them, and then you focus too much on them and not on yourself, type of thing.
That influencer thing, like that title that a lot of people hold on Instagram or wherever, you're an
Mhm.
influencer, you know,
Oh yeah.
influencing people.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a term that should be celebrated, you know. It depends on how you're trying to influence them, you know. And you could see a lot of robots, you know, people that are clones, you know, they just want to be like other people.
Mhm. And
um,
in any of your brands, any of your music, have you seen a moment where what you did, well, in anything that you did, had a great impact on somebody?
that's a beautiful question, brother. Yeah, I think every time I put something out, whether it's music, an episode of the podcast, or a conversation that I'm able to have, you know, I see the impact that those things have on people, because people are either commenting or responding to me, or just touching base. I want to touch the people on on deeper levels, you know what I mean? So, you know, one message a day just saying, hey, this was a dope episode, or thank you for sharing this, or whatever. You know, I think that's what gives it some sort of value, you know, like, okay, I'm on the right path right now because people are being inspired by these things that I'm doing. So at the end of the day, someone's gonna see it, you know. Not everyone's gonna like what you do. But if you are being successful in inspiring people, that's we should all be inspiring people, you know, trying to inspire people, ourselves first, then others, you know.
Absolutely. And I always tell myself this, like to just inspire myself. I'm like, I'm my number one biggest fan. You know, like as long
Yeah.
as you're your own number one biggest fan, like there's nobody else that can like really bring you down. Because there is those like people who like just judge you, or like they just like they're pure like just negative vibes towards you. And as long as you're able to have that type of mindset, like that's like I always told this one like everybody like when I first started, because a lot of people when I first got started, there was people that were there that I was actually really helping, and that were
Yeah.
also like you know like providing support. And then those like one, two, or three different people who are like, nah, they're just in this and that. And so a lot of people would ask me, they're like, that doesn't get to you. And I'm like, well, no, not really, not at all. I don't even pay attention to it. One, because it's like it must be sad for them to literally go on Instagram in your comment section and then just like put like, oh, hey, you're full of crap, you know, and things like that. It's like they really took the time out of their day to do that, you know, like that's one. That's sad, you know, like, and then two is like, I'd rather focus more on like the people who I'm actually having an impact with than the people who are just there to do nothing, you know, and that I just want to concentrate on the people who are on the positive, impactful side, not those who aren't.
Yeah, I mean, if you I said something to myself earlier today. I said, I had this thought about like imagine if we didn't even address or think of anything negative. Like we just never even acknowledged negativity. Like it didn't exist. Even if like you're praying, let's say you say, let's just say I remove all negativity from my life. Instead of even saying I remove all negativity, don't even address negativity.
I
Pretend it
like that.
doesn't exist. Like don't acknowledge anything negative and just refrain from acknowledging those things
Yeah.
and just focus on the positive. Instead of saying I remove all negativity from my life, switch it and say I have a positive life. I only invite positivity in my life. Whatever that prayer may be. I'm just
Right.
giving
Right.
examples, right? I think we need to stop even acknowledging anything negative, because anything negative, whether it's in the form of a person or a moment or whatever, like especially people, people are not happy with themselves. So misery loves company.
Right.
And even acknowledging someone quote unquote hating on you or taking the time out to bash you on social media, like first of all, if you didn't say it to my face, you never said it. So
Exactly. Yeah.
we don't acknowledge those things,
Exactly.
like we have to live on a higher frequency.
Mhm.
So
I like what you're trying to say. Like the whole like just don't focus on the negative side at all. Like bring the positive towards you instead. That's pretty
yeah,
much what it is.
make it outweigh this side. We focus on negative even when trying to remove negativity. That's still too much attention to negativity.
Yeah. It's
Don't
like
even
go ahead. Go ahead.
no
Oh,
go.
it's kind of like saying like when you wake up in the morning, like you see like a rainy day, it's like, oh, it might be a bad day. But like, no, it's like tell yourself it's gonna be an exciting day, like it's like, it's not like it's just the way you think, like when you see the sun, it's like super hot outside, like, oh, it's super hot, and be like,
Yeah, the
hey, it's
weather's not gonna
super hot,
stop us. We're
you
still
know?
gonna go get things done,
Yeah.
like the weather
Like,
should, it's art. When it
there you
rains
go.
outside,
I like that. It's art. There you go.
the
Yeah.
canvas right in front of us, right?
Exactly, man. And it's just the way of how you think, your perspective and your mind. That's all it
But
is.
how you,
Oh, in
yeah,
simplest form, that's what it is. It's just the way
yeah,
you think and the way you want to move in your life is the way you're gonna go in life is the way you think. That's pretty much how
I
it is.
agree. I agree. I agree.
And then the last kind of few questions I wanted to ask you, and I did want to ask you this one, is during that whole year of the whole pandemic, how did it have an adjustment towards you? Did it shift you in a different direction? How did you overcome that, especially as an artist? Like for example, here there was a lot of artists without like a platform like that because they couldn't do live concerts, they couldn't do things in person. And so that's the reason I started the podcast, was to give like people still an opportunity to get like exposure. Um, how was that like for you? Like what switched for you during that time and everything?
Well, you hit it on the ball. The whole live event stuff had to stop, just when things were kind of going up. And I'm still a bit, I'll be real with you and your platform and your listeners and viewers. I'm still a bit scared to get back into it because I don't know what to expect, and
Right.
I don't know where things are going. So I'm kind of rolling with the punches, giving it some time. Maybe after the season, let's get the winter and Christmas out the way.
Yeah.
And in 2022, we'll come back and hit them hard with those live events again. And Rampage, which is an event series connected to the Who and How Club.
Mhm.
Because I had a residency at a lounge, at a space, where I was holding these events, but they had to sell their business like during the
Yeah.
pandemic. So it's like new owners own this building now. I'm not there anymore. So I got to go make another relationship and a new connection. So I'm not ready for that yet. But hopefully after this season, I will be, and maybe things will change within this pandemic, or pandemic wise. But that took a toll, and my work in the social services field didn't change. In fact, I was needed more
Yeah.
because I work with people, so working with the homeless sector and people from the homeless community. So nothing changed there. I was very grateful for that, like that's something I don't take for granted, because I do know a lot of folks did lose their jobs and they weren't able to work, and it's such a
Yeah.
sad time that we're in. But I think things kind of look like they're going upwards now, so
Yeah.
I, I pray for everyone. Yeah.
Absolutely. And one thing I kind of heard on what you said is like you kind of don't know what to expect. I think my answer to that would kind of be like just don't expect anything. Just do
Mhm.
it. Just go towards it, just do it. And what happens, happens, like it could
Yes.
be great, and you're over here probably just trying to force something there. Like you're trying to force an ending, but don't force an ending. Like just try to just go with the flow, make something happen, just push at it, and you'll see what happens. That could be
I
a really,
like that.
yeah, that
I
could be,
needed to hear that. I needed to hear that today.
yeah. Like I always tell myself, I'm like, yes, the worst can happen and the best can happen, but I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lock myself in one of them and then force that certain scenario to happen. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
with exactly what I'm gonna try to do, and then what happens at that end is what happens at that end. You know,
Yeah.
it's like for
Uh,
example, you go on a date with like a girl or whatever, and like you're gonna try to force for her to like you and like for continue to talk to you. You can't force that, but then you also don't know if she's gonna actually like not deny you, do that. So you just got to go with it and see what happens, type of thing. That's like a
just
perfect.
gotta be you. Hopefully she'll vibe with you, and
Exactly. There you
if
go.
she likes you, she likes you. If she doesn't, she doesn't. But
Absolutely.
I had to be honest with you with my fear, like
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of us we pretend that we're not afraid, but
Exactly.
I am, and that's going back, like that's a negative thing that I gotta not acknowledge, like that's something I gotta going back to what we were saying, like I shouldn't have any negative feeling towards what I want to do. But this pandemic has instilled a lot of fear in people, like, and a lot of it just doesn't make sense to me either. So just trying to figure it out. But I don't think I should let that fear stop me from like, getting a new venue and all that jazz. But I think top of the year, I'm gonna start getting the live shows back on the road.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so if there's anything like any one piece of advice, whether it was given to you or that what you want to give out, what would that one piece be that you want to give as advice to artists and creators specifically?
Can I swear on your platform?
Go for it.
My one piece of advice is fuck them.
I like that. I like that.
Fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about them. They have no control over you.
I like
They're
it.
not they're not writing your story. They're not writing your book. So fuck them. Like you're not here to please people, man. You're
Mm-hmm.
here to please yourself and hopefully inspire others through the pleasing of oneself.
I love it.
Like, make yourself happy, pursue your dreams and whatever you want to do in your life, and who the real people who support you and love you will be there, and they'll come and they'll be drawn to you, and they'll only mean well.
Right.
Everybody else outside of that, fuck them.
Mm-hmm.
Don't
And
even waste time like
exactly. Don't even
explaining yourself. Don't explain yourself to people who are too normal and sane because you look like a crazy person. All creatives are crazy.
Yep.
If
Yep.
someone doesn't understand your level of crazy, fuck them.
Exactly. I love
Don't
that.
dumb yourself. Don't dumb yourself down to make them feel comfortable.
Right. It just goes back to making yourself happy and being your number one fan. Be your number one fan, regardless of what everybody says. Now there's also a point where like, it obviously might not be what you should be doing, but most of the cases it's not that. Most of the cases because you give up because one or two people on Instagram commented, I don't like this, and how is that going to stop you?
No, Isaac. Fuck Instagram. Fuck
Exactly.
even family. Even family, even your closest friends. Fuck them. Like I'm telling you, anybody that causes your life strife, stress, sadness. Those are the three S's for today. That's the lesson. Strife, stress, and sadness. Anyone, I just made that up. Anyone causing any of those three things in your life, fuck them. And they could be family, friends, fools, people from your past, people in your present. Fuck them.
Love it. I
And
love
I
it.
learned that. I learned that the hard way. So I'm only speaking from experience. Trust me, you'll find freedom
Yeah.
in all of that once you let go of all of that. You got to be willing to roam on your own sometimes.
No, absolutely. And I completely agree. I've been through that certain scenario too. And so I couldn't agree with you anymore. Like that's it. Just in every term in general, those two words,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
all it
yeah.
is. Yep. And so the last very question, that was good. That was good, man. I like that. I'm gonna put that as a thing with a neon sign that says just,
This guy's gonna ban me from the podcast.
no, I love it. Like I completely agree.
Okay, okay.
Like, no, I completely agree. Like yes, yeah, like just yes. And compared to where you're at now, what is something you know now that you wish you would have known when you first got started?
Mm. something that I wish I knew, something that I know now that I wish I knew back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
Um, that I'm capable, that I'm more than capable
Yeah.
of bringing my ideas to life. There was a time where I just kept all the ideas in here, never shared them, just kept them in here and in here. But then once I realized that I was able to bring them to life because I believed in myself, or that I could actually pursue the things that I want to pursue, and I'm willing to sacrifice whatever, do whatever it takes to do so. I might be further. I would have been further ahead than where I'm at now, but you can't live in regret. You just got to be like, that's part of my journey. I wasn't meant to make it or be so ahead back then. Those were lessons. That's part of the journey.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Who and How Club represents, like who you are and how you became the you that you are. So that journey in between. Because like I see you today, Isaac. I see you, I'm meeting you for the first time. I see this person in front of me. You're a host of a podcast, creator and producer of your own platform. And this is my first introduction to you, but there's a journey that I'm not aware of that deserves exploration. And the only way we can explore that is if we speak with one another and pick each other's brains and get to know one another.
Absolutely.
And we all have a journey. Every famous person you see today, like Rihanna, whoever, like they have a journey. We just don't see it.
Yeah.
So I think it's all part of the journey, and we got to just accept our journeys.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And just give yourself a plug, where can people reach you, find you, things like that?
Yeah, sure. If you want to touch base with me personally, holla at me at only one Arys, ONLY, the number one, ARYS, as in my name. And that's where you'll get access to my music, my bio, any other creative stuff outside of the podcast that I'm working on. And for the podcast, the Who and How Club, we're on all all podcast platforms, and at Who How Club on all social media platforms. WhoHowClub.com is the website. And yeah, just touch base, man. Touch base.
Awesome. Awesome. So make sure everybody goes and reaches out to you and things like that. I want to thank you so much, man, for even coming on, spending a little bit of your time to be on the show and everything and share this experience. I think we got a lot of good things that we talked about. A lot of things that always help artists, especially just not on the art side, but on the mental side, the emotional side, the physical, not the physical side, like the everything, things like that. And so very good, man. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Isaac, thanks for having me. I appreciate it as well.